Today, I want to remind you that when you are writing nonfiction that both tells a story and teaches, that text needs to be organized so your readers can follow you. One way journalists might organize an investigative piece is into parts: an anecdote, background information, and next steps. The writer then uses sophisticated transitions to lead the reader explicitly through these parts, acting like a tour guide for the reader. Journalist, right now, will you flip through your research and writing that you have so far, and will you try to name what you have? For instance, you might say, I have an interview with an expert, or I have a true story, or I have the results of a survey. Take a few minutes to flip through your notebook and your folder and then describe what you've got. Only here's the thing: try to categorize the bits under these three categories. So you might say, I have a true story. That would be a narrative part. Go ahead and pause the video and do this for a few minutes. Journalist, as you were analyzing your writing, you may have noticed that you were using a lot of the same kinds of bits and pieces, because as we've noted, investigative journalists tend to do this kind of work. You have interviews and survey data, you have true stories, and you have research from text, such as expert quotes or statistics. It's easy to imagine how your reader could get confused as you lead from one bit to the next, isn't it? When you write complex texts, you are taking your reader on a tour of your topic, and the people on your tour expect you to keep them organized and make sure they don't get lost. One way to do that is to use some of the sophisticated transitions that journalists use. Here's the trick: they use these phrases to lead into or out of the different parts of the piece. Kind of like I might say, now we're leaving the room where, if I were a tour guide, before going on with, and now we're entering. Let's try to match some of these transitions to the parts we want to lead into or out of. Journalist, you have some sophisticated transitions that will appear in the next few minutes of the lesson. I want you to think about the parts that we have listed on the chart and the bits and pieces that you have in your notebook that you want to put into your own article. Where would you use one of these transitions? Which ones would do a good job leading the reader into or out of specific parts in your piece? So, journalist, what kind of matching work did you do? You may have thought that you could say, picture this, as you were introducing a true story. Or as you were bringing a story to the close, you might say, this story shows, reveals, or suggests. You may be surprised to find maybe a transition that you use for background information, statistics, and research. Writers, do you see how we took the different transitional phrases and used them with different parts of the story? Now you can do this in your writing. Go back to the platform for the next activity.